Welcome back! So this week we're gonna talk about cooperatives. Yay!
Yeah, so we've been researching and thinking about using a cooperative structure because that lines up really well with the way we want to run a business. And there was an opportunity, so last week I went to the first ever co-op convention in BC was organized by BC Cooperative Association. And so there was a lot of information, and so we're going to dive in. I'll just share some of the bits and pieces from this. I apologize in advance. There's a lot of jumping from topic to topic because it was like a full day of topics, and I selected some of the bits and pieces. But there is a lot more that we took away, so we'll discuss about some of the things that I learned while I was there, and also when we're going next. And what else are we going to do?
A quick farm update at the end, of course. But yeah,
so stay tuned for that, and I hope you enjoy the video.
I'm Michelle Satsumi. I'm coordinating BC's first Agriculture and Food Co-op Conference, and we are at Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops. Really happy to be welcoming folks into 2 days of sessions, and we'll be covering topics that support co-op health through good governance or governance that supports best practices and building relationships. And we will have Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Fisheries staff sharing information about their programs around business development, and Feed BC, which is bringing local food into institutions. And it's going to be a great program. We have lots of folks who are on the ground growing food, raising animals. We have folks who are processing food. We've got a few of the BC Food Hub Network members here, and we have people who are providing funding and support in that way. And we've got lots of sector leaders here, really excited to hear the knowledge and skills from the group. Well, I've been working with the BC Co-op Association over the last year, and working cooperatively and together just makes sense, especially for smaller scale operators. Grouping together will make it so that we can each do what we love to do. I'm also a grower, and working together builds community and capacity.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Awesome.
This is Michael Arnoose, but everybody calls him Uncle Mike. And he's got a few words for you.
Laila Kohoina, Jawas Question, Experience with Grove, Shukapans, Stan Neftian, Lad, Squawkers, Kids, Ladig, Being. Ik meen het eigenlijk uit de middel. Je gaat moeilijk. Het gaat goed deze. Het cooler. The son is Jean Guiz. I'll speak this foreign language, English. I don't know, I came from across the oceans, and honor for me to hear to speak while the sun is shining this day, and for the way we think it's not, or the energy, the ones that are going to be talking about cooperation, and somehow it's been forgotten because the water is undrinkable down here now, both rivers and most of the huge lakes in the interior. You know, not keeping their lives involved with the cycle, because they're supposed to be part of this cycle too, for our health.
The peasant farming policy was adopted and added to with the Indian Act and the implementation of Indian agents on reserves, which restricted the ability to sell off reserve and to also access inputs And I think the key thing that strikes me of relevance to this conference is that a key part of the peasant farming policy was to decollectivize indigenous agriculture. And so the recognition that one of the reasons why the indigenous groups were very successful at agriculture was because they worked together.
Do you think there is any hope that the federal government would ever consider giving land ownership to a community instead of an individual?
I don't know, but there are some really interesting models out there that it would be really great to see explored. Scotland, for example, has a program where if they've got a real problem with land ownership being concentrated with the very, very few, and they have legislated that if land is being made available for sale, the community has the first go at it to purchase the land, and they've got a fund for the community to be able to purchase the land. And so they've seen communities being able to acquire land, and then it's taken out of private ownership. And it's also leading to, rural revitalization in remote areas of Scotland where they've been losing population over time.
If that simple change could be made, we could bring a lot more land back into the community. People who are leaving, who are passing away, who are of my generation, who don't have children to leave their land to. And even if they did have, and they may have other, they would forgo their legacy in order to see the land actually go back into the community. And how we reconcile that, of course, with the First Nations is a really big issue, I think, that we need to address on that. Everybody's looking at how we can address that.
Moving into the Constitution, the basic right to human dignity, food, shelter, water. And the federal government as the guarantor of food, and as one of the mechanisms through our domestic agricultural production. It feels like a no-brainer, but the right to food is not in our Constitution. So, FYI. Work to come later. At the provincial level, though, and at the down to local levels, what we are seeing, which is a really compelling model, and it kind of comes from parks acquisition. So the ability to acquire land is something that provinces and municipalities, regional governments can do, and some of them are using that model as a way to hold lands in public trust, to lease to farmers, to again decouple this private commodification system.
Very interesting. For myself, I'm one of the people born outside of this, kind of outside of the system, looking from the outside, how things are happening. Looking from that point of view, seeing something happen within our own territory, all the trees the sawmills shutting down, and salmon almost depleting, and deer, where I lived, used to be 400 or 500 deer, come down the mountain, there's only about 25. So I think what you're talking about here, it's been some poor management. It's not going to get better unless you know where all these management plans are coming from that cost a lot of this. I'm not saying this because I dislike something or somebody. It's because I've been drinking that water and breathing that air, and it's not getting better.
We can incorporate as cooperatives, but really what we're talking about is being in relationship with each other. So whether we're cooperatives or not, it's about us working together and cooperating, and that's all across the board.
An opportunity for the cooperative sector to develop policy proposals that address a number of different directions in a particular government's mandate, and to provide fresh perspective.
Those of you may be familiar with the Agricultural Land Reserve, but I want to bring us back before 1973 and talk about doctrine of discovery, terra nullius, the impetus to come into a place like BC through patterns of settlement that saw the landscape as something to be owned. that the notion of ownership is attached to the use of land. And because indigenous peoples under the European gaze weren't using the land in a way that was legible to people from Europe, this enabled the doctrine of discovery to seize territories from indigenous peoples. This is a history that we inherit. These are structures that manifest in the land itself and in our relationship to land. So I've heard people kind of talking throughout the room about the privatization of land, the commodification of land. Chris mentioned parcelization. All of these things that we do to manage and control land because we see it as a use, that it's instrumental. Our relationship to it is unidirectional, and we're in a hierarchical relationship to the land.
And that I would just see as, let's not keep thinking of land as something that we can own, but something that we are in a reciprocal relationship with, and therefore have to take care of. And however we look after the other needs that we have for retirement, let's collectively come together and problem solve that.
And it's really, if they're able to see the story and able to see the projection, we're able to find ways to provide funding for that cooperative. One of the things to think about as well is a lot of people think, oh, I need real estate to be able to secure what I need, and sometimes what we forget is the people that are coming together to actually build that cooperative are of good character, and they have a great idea, and sometimes their guarantee could be enough for us to get things started. So those are just some ideas to think about as you start planning that out. The big thing though is partnerships, and obviously Valley First all partners with EDC and BDC. But one of the things that we, as credit unions, we tend to sometimes just go on your own, and we're looking at, well, we're not going to be able to help you. So I'll just share an example of some of the things that we're doing is really partnering with other cooperatives, with other organizations to be able to still provide the funding that the organization needs. So we have a new startup that's starting. It's in the agriculture industry in our market, and projections look good. There's, obviously the cash flow is going to come, but we actually minimize the risk by partnering with Farm Credit. So both organizations came together and advanced the funds for this organization to start building their business.
Applications for the BC's Agribusiness Planning Program will reopen in spring of 2022 to support producers and food processors through 3 business planning streams. Number 1, the business plan coaching, 2, business disaster recovery planning, and 3, specialized business planning.
When you've got investors on this land, it puts them in kind of a risky position, if they don't deal with us. And it's coming to that point, so I think the people here got to start dealing with us. And it's not us that started that problem, we're just trying to straighten it out. Every time we went to court, we tried to get them to tell the truth, but they swear on their holy book, but they still don't tell the truth. They push that book aside and open another one. I don't know who writes that one. So somebody said something about the truth here, and I want to hear that. That's what I want to hear.
My name is Darcy Smith. I work for Young Agrarians, which is a farmer-to-farmer resource network. And our mission is to grow the next generation of farmers and food lovers in Canada. We have been around since 2012, and really we're all about connecting farmers to each other, to community, to resources, to all the tools that they need to get started and thrive in agriculture. New farmers today, they face a number of challenges that can be summarized as access to land, access to knowledge, and access to capital. A lot of farmers today are not coming from a family farm background, so they're like brave young people who want to get into agriculture because They believe in growing food. They want to work with their hands. They want to work with the land, feed their communities. But there are a lot of barriers to overcome in order to do the work that they love.
So there's all sorts of programming. So I can refer to programming. I can help with business plans and expansions, etc. I can search and look for and assist with grants or loans or anything of that sort. So anything really business related. I think there's, let's say, a lot that could get involved in co-op that it would be difficult for them to exist without co-op. But the want is there, the need is there, and without the actual co-op, I think it's very difficult for them to form and become something. So yes, I think there's huge opportunity.
Okay, my name's Heather Pritchard, and I live on a cooperative farm in the Fraser Valley. And I have been a member of a worker cooperative as well that farms the land. And the people who farm the land are also resident of the farm co-op. And so that's kind of where I started from. And then while I was working for Farm Folk City Folk, helped to set up another cooperative called BC EcoSeed. And then BC EcoSeed is actually housed on our cooperative farm. So there's a lot of cooperation between co-ops. Most of the difficulties, I think, are interpersonal. You know, it's like communication is the absolute key. If you can spend time learning whatever it is, it's nonviolent communication. But for me, the ones that have succeeded the most are ones that have come together and done a combination of, like I always say, the magic combination is to work together and to eat together and to meet together. And probably the meeting would be the last thing. You know, once you get out on the land or whatever it is and you start to work together, the communication starts and flows. You take a break, you have fabulous food, and then you stay together, and all the things you've discussed during that start to be recorded and shared. And I think that works a lot. It works really well.
So we looked at a lot of different ways that we could share our food forests with the community, and co-op really stood out to us as one that has been successful. We really like of course, the community aspect of a co-op, and there are a lot of really great models already working successfully in BC. So that's why we thought going to the co-op convention would be a really great first step into learning more about co-ops and how to do a successful co-op, I suppose.
Yeah. What was a bit surprising but really welcoming for me was there was a lot of discussion right away from the beginning on many of the land issues that we are facing in Canada, and how, for example, private land ownership and some of the early policies have shaped the way agriculture is operating in Canada, and how, you know, intentionally for several generations Canada has been pushing for separating communities, not allowing communal agriculture.
Right.
And what we want to do is sort of moving back, and that was one of the messages that during the convention is that one of these vehicles that we could use to sort of move back to working together again is the cooperative.
Yeah.
So really is behind the cooperative is that sort of desire to get back and work together as a community, which that's what I found really appealing.
Yeah. So the co-op convention had a lot of really great speakers, and as much as we wanted to put everything in the video, we couldn't fit everything in. So Aras did a couple interviews separately, so you can find an interview with Darcy from Young Agrarians, and you can find an interview with Heather, and she's been involved with co-ops for a very long time, multiple co-ops and organizations, and her interview is very, very interesting, coming from someone who's very experienced and has been involved for so long, seeing co-ops in BC evolve the way they have. So both of those will be available for you to watch separately, and it's definitely worth it. Yeah, really great.
There is a lot to share about. We just trying to process all the information that we got a lot of really good contacts out of this convention. So we made some really good connections, and we're hoping to stay in touch with people. And the overwhelming message was that there is a huge current potential for co-ops to for building new co-ops in BC. We definitely lack cooperative work here, and there were examples. There were actually some speakers from Italy, and they showed how most of their agriculture over there is actually done through cooperatives. So we're going to seriously pursue this, and we are seriously looking for others to join us.
Definitely.
In this operation, as well as future agricultural operations. So if you have some other agricultural venture in the Kootenay area and you want to work with us, get in touch. We love to get involved. This is now what we're doing full time. So
yeah, exactly.
This is our job. So yeah. So stay tuned. There will be a lot more information. And then you should give some farm updates.
Yeah, farm updates. So I noticed finally the currants are starting to leaf out. So they're always the first ones to start. So that's always exciting to see. And crocuses, we saw crocuses starting to come up. And I know other parts of BC have already had crocuses for a while, but still very exciting here. And what else? Yeah.
Well, we see a lot of little plants starting to come up, and it's fun going around trying to ID things.
Yeah.
But I think our foraging season is going to start really soon.
Yes, we're very excited for Suzuki, which are our like wild asparagus.
And then fiddlehead is going to be coming right after that. And we got lots lined up that we're going to do a lot of foraging this year.
Very excited.
We're going to have most of our food forest here. So look for those videos. They're going to be coming up soon too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we've been getting our nursery set up, so that's also exciting. Brought a lot of propagation material back from your trip there.
Yeah.
So we're getting that nursery set up so the birds can stay out of it, and the birds and the dogs, and that's exciting.
Some fencing happening today.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of really interesting cuttings. I went to some friends in Kamloops and Salmon Arm, and on the way back I stopped at Sirotska, and from Barry and Stephanie, they gave me some of the cutting from the old trees that are there. So I got some cutting from the cherry tree there and
cool.
pear tree. So we're gonna start grafting very soon here.
Yeah.
But just getting everything ready.
Yay!
Yeah, very excited.
Tis the season. All right, stay tuned for next week then.
Yes. See you next time.
Bye.